The key thing is we got to get out there in the environment of ideas and discuss questions because we're not aging. We're having more chronic diseases. Diseases are starting earlier. Doctors don't understand. Abundant active hormone in the human body is testosterone. Testosterone is 50 times higher in women than their estrogen is. This body is amazing. If done with the right substrates, we can have very good health.
All right, welcome to another episode of Life Sciences 360. So, few weeks ago, somebody reached out to me and said, "Hey, June is National Men's Health Education and Awareness Month, and we have this person that we really think you should bring on your podcast, Dr. Greg Brannon. He is the medical director and founder of Optimalbio, and they are doing a lot of great work in the hormone replacement therapy space and specifically bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. And Dr. Greg also has written a book called Restore. So they would make for an awesome guest. Do you want to go ahead and schedule the episode? That was maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and here we are today. So let's dive in and chat with Dr. Greg. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Harsh. I really appreciate it.
So I want to start off by asking you, congratulations on the book. It launched in March of this year, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So can you walk us through what was the main idea behind launching the book? What was the driver for putting the book out there?
Yeah, I wrote a book called The Hormone Handbook in 2020, which is the basis behind our company, Optimalbio. Bioidentical hormone therapy, testosterone, estrogen pellets, progesterone, thyroid disorders. And we've placed probably 20,000 patients over the last, 10, 11 years. And Restore is more of a detailed narrative of the journey of a human body, a young man to an adult male through aging, as well as a woman the same way. And then I walk through the neuroendocrinology of the body, and I have about 400 references medically showing how hormones work and what they do when they're not there. We're very fortunate. We're a gold medallion Amazon bestseller. It's the first book that we know of, a hardback copy book written on bioidentical replacement therapy via pellets. Um, so what I really am big on Optimalbio is we want to educate because knowledge is power. And I really want
Yes.
people to be informed. I believe the king and queen is the mirror. This body is amazing. If done with the right substrates, we can have very good health.
Yeah. How long did it take you from idea to getting the book published? I'm just curious.
Well, I read about 3, 4 hours a day, so I have hundreds, if not thousands, of articles,
Yeah.
and so it took about 6 months of working at it, writing at it. I had a wonderful over at Forbes. Had a very great team at Advantage in Forbes that helped me out. Bud
Mm-hmm.
Ramsey can't help enough without him. He took my thoughts and ideas and got a nice story out of it. So it was a great team effort. I just can't stress harsh how I am such into. You need informed consent, informed things to make decisions, and the wise tales we hear about hormones is actually debilitating to both men and women as we age.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I agree with you around, the idea of knowledge sharing or knowledge is power. And as I grow in my career, I'm also doing the same thing. I work mostly in quality, compliance, and technology consulting with small to mid-sized biotech companies and startups. And I feel like working at big enterprise companies or Fortune 500 pharma companies, I have accumulated a lot of knowledge that I feel, as a consultant, I can pass on to, the smaller startups and mid-sized companies. And, it's really exciting to have that. So I'm glad we need more people like you that are able to, spread out or share their expertise in forms of books, blogs. This podcast is one more, avenue of sharing knowledge. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Optimum Bio. We have the books. We have a YouTube channel. We have podcasts as well. The key thing is you. It's just you. We got to get out there in the environment of ideas and discuss questions because we're not aging. We're having more chronic diseases. Diseases are starting earlier. And the first time in American history, the last 3 years, our life expectancy is decreasing. So these are big questions we have to ask why. And people don't understand, but I'm talking doctors don't understand. The most abundant active hormone in the human body is testosterone. Testosterone is 50 times higher in men than in women than their estrogen is. It's crucial we understand that this hormone is not optional, and having optimal levels are key. And the book goes into the reason why we have suboptimal levels, and when they get beneficial, what disease processes are halted or at least curtailed.
Hmm. How did you end up in, like, starting Optimal Bio? How did you find yourself in that situation to start the company? Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, I was an OBGYN for years. I
Mm.
finished my residency in 92, and I loved OBGYN. I loved delivering babies. I loved watching women through their stages of life. I enjoyed surgery. I enjoyed the medicine side of it as well. And when women start changing into their perimenopausal menopausal age, and the PMS symptoms, things like this, what really bothered me was the standard of care treatment of antidepressants. And the key thing is this: I'm not antidepressants, but not 85-90% of women should be on those. And
Mm.
when you have a loss of a hormone that runs multiple factors in the body, and then you tell a woman it's in your head, that bothered me. So I started looking for other reasons on why these symptoms are occurring. I want to get to the root cause. So I was exposed to pellets around 15, 16 years ago. I spent about 2 years studying it, and went to a conference by Dr. Turo, who's one of the world experts at the time on pellet therapy, and started applying it to my patient base in my female practice. And within a month, I had men say, "Whatever you're doing for my wife, I like that in my practice." So I didn't want to see men in my OB practice. So I rented a space next door. And now we have 9 offices in 5 states. We're the leading producers of hormone therapy, bioidentical, and via pellets. And that's important. The chemical structure, you being what you do for a living, is crucial, right? The atom for atom, the molecule, the three-dimensional sizes. You change one molecule, it changes everything.
Mm.
And the route in which it applies, injection, oral, creams versus the pellet, they have different benefits and negatives. The pellet is the only one that secretes like the ovary and testicle. It's a constant steady state release. And it's been used since 1935. It's just pure compressed hormone. So I studied the route and the chemical. And I just found that to be very beneficial. And I saw patients to their lives have come back. And about 80% of our patients are antidepressants are off in 3 to 4 months. So it was a process of that. And then during my process, I went and got board certified in functional medicine at A4M and did 2 fellowships because I want to study. I think being allopathically trained, MD trained, is wonderful, but tying it together, holistic medicine, we know nothing about nutrition, supplementation. These things are optimized. So I'm looking at an overall global picture.
Yeah, yeah. And when you so for people, like, I don't know much about the how is bioidentical hormone replacement therapy different from other forms? Can you double click
Oh,
on that?
love that question. The Mayo Clinic considers bioidentical, the definition is body recognized as same.
Hmm.
And as you know, being in the pharmaceutical industry, and I'm not anti big pharma, we need them, but I want competition. But a pharmacy company cannot own an organic molecule. If it's in nature, it can't be owned. So to me, the onus is on the pharmacy company to say that their structure that's not in the body is superior to the one that the body makes. Okay, that's
Hmm.
my premise. Because again, when you get a molecule that the body makes and recognizes it, it knows how to utilize it, knows how to metabolize it, and how it knows how to eliminate it. When you add a acyl group or you add a ester group on it, that changes how your body recognizes it. So I'm not being that smart. I want to go back to what the body makes. But here's the whole crux of it. Since testosterone is the most abundant active hormone in the human body, what has the ranges been consistent in the last 80, 90 years? And that's what's interesting. In both men and women, from the embryo, from the inside the mother's womb till we pass away, testosterone's made, converts to estradiol, enzyme called aromatase, and then it's eliminated. So in both men and women, we have that same process. Estrogen is what controls the amount of testosterone in our body with a negative feedback loop. And why I bring all this up is there's not a number that's what healthy. It's a range. I'm 63. When I was in school, the range for a woman was roughly 70 to 250. A range for a man was roughly 900 to 1400. That same range today in a woman, it depends what lab you use, is roughly 5 to 50 for a woman, and a man is roughly 200 to 900. So the question you got to ask yourself is, why has the range changed? And
Yep.
what is healthier, a lower number or a higher number? And when you look at the data, the higher the number is, chronic diseases go down. And the reason why the range is shifting left and going downward is because the system, our body, has been exposed to xeno or fake estrogens, these neuroendocrine disruptors that trick the body that were hyperestrogenetic. So therefore, it tricks the body not to make testosterone. So these normal ranges are actually a sick number range because we're a sick population. It's like the example I use in Restore. If you're looking for an optimal blood sugar level and you got 1 million people in your study, but everybody's diabetic, the number is irrelevant. You want a placebo group that's healthy. We don't have a healthy group. So what I do at Optimalbio is I go back to the 1940 studies. I call it the pre-plastic era, the pre-organic phosphates, the pre-pesticide eras that were not as prevalent as they are today to get those ranges.
Yeah, yeah. It does sound like if, like, it's interesting that the range was 900 to 1400 and now it's 200 to 900. So then, like you said, the question is, if you're between that range, are you okay, or you are only okay because the range changed and you're actually not okay?
Right. I'll give you one kick number. Study done at the VA San Diego, 70,000 men over the age of 50. Men
Mm,
men over 540 versus men under 350. The men under 350 had an 88% higher heart attack risk in 4.5 years with a 41% higher mortality rate. Kaiser in California did a study giving testosterone to men, showed men with optimized testosterone over 600 had twofold less overall mortality. So this is not a game of people think testosterone, they think libido and muscle. That's like down the line. What it is brain development, neuroplasticity, immune structure, inflammation, bone formation. Every single cell in the body has a testosterone receptor. What's interesting, Dr. Mark Richards, he was a White House physician in Obama. He wrote a book called Nobody Wants You Healthy. He says this is the pre-COVID numbers show that in America we spend roughly $2 trillion on healthcare a year, and 90% of that's chronic health care. He estimates with men and women with optimized testosterone, we could decrease the chronic health care cost by 50% because
mm,
optimizing health will decrease dollars. And that's what's crucially important. Testosterone can decrease diabetes by up to 2.5 fold. Um, uh, Optimal testosterone decreases hemoglobin A1C by 17.6% in 6 months. Now I can do this number after number after number. In my book, Restore, I told you, I have Florida references. The data is there. It's very important. Dr. Glazer shows that testosterone decreases breast cancer up to 60% in women because it actually decreases meiotic division. So there's so many things out there that at higher numbers, we had less disease processes than we do now.
yeah, yeah. And when you say, you said to look at the bigger picture, and that's one of the reasons you mentioned starting Optimalbio. So for our audience who are maybe not in life sciences, who are not in a science or biotechnology field, uh, what do you have to say to them about the role of hormones in their life, particularly men?
I
Like,
love that,
why?
Harsh. Thank
Yeah.
you for that analogy. Here's what I tell everybody: we're all Ferraris, we're all Bugattis, we're all great for these great automobiles. We all are. Our bodies are amazingly made, but that Ferrari's not going to run with two. It needs two things. I'm not talking EV, just talking combustion engine. There's two things that body needs. That car needs to run. It needs a fuel source. That's the testosterone, and a carburetor. That's the oxygen being combusted. That is your thyroid. So that's why I focus on those two energy sources, Optimalbio. Again, you have a car, you can wash it, you can paint it, you can put air in the tires, all great things. but you can't run it without fuel and a carburetor. And what Optimalbio does is we optimize our fuel, we optimize the carburetor, and then you go run the car, get it washed, put air in the tires, paint the job. But the most important foundational principle to any longevity or health medicine is the optimizing of your thyroid and your testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone levels.
Yeah, that's a great analogy, and it's kind of uh, segue into my next question is what happens when that car, like you explained, doesn't get the right fuel, or the right energy source at the right time. So in terms of, yeah, for hormones in men, what happens when there's a big imbalance in the hormone in that male's life?
Great question, Harsh. Just picture you're driving down the street in your Ferrari and the red lights on the dashboard to go off. Your
Hmm.
option is to put duct tape over the red light and ignore it, or you try to find out the root cause of it. And that's what's happening. What's happening is the red light on our dashboard are common symptoms we call aging. Tired of being tired, brain fog, anxiety, mood changes, decreased libido, decreased muscle mass. We just call that aging. So if we attack aging as a disease, we want to go to the root cause. Why wait for osteoporosis? What makes bone in our body? Testosterone and progesterone in women. In women, it's progesterone and testosterone. In men, it's testosterone. And then estrogen causes reabsorption. So if those hormones go away, you're going to not make bone and you're going to use it up faster. So let's keep the bone going by giving that. Well, why do we wait for dementia? Let's keep the neuroplasticity going to testosterone. So my goal, see, the thing is, our body does not know its age if the chemistry, the biochemistry is a youthful way. I'm not anti-aging. I want to be very clear. There's benefits of aging. That's wisdom. My dream and Restore talks about is you taking the benefits of life experiences and tie that together with a 20-year-old chemistry. That's the holy grail. So what I want to do is cardiovascular disease, neurodegenerative disease, cancer, falling down are the major top 4 reasons of death. If we can just push those further out, then our longevity curve and our health curve go together. Peter Attia, in his book Outlive, has a great chart showing that. We'll have these disease processes, but the problem is these processes are happening earlier in age. If we do this optimized, basically push inflammation, right? Push that out and further out, we have a healthier longevity span with a healthier health span.
Yeah, yeah. And you touched on a lot of the effects of low testosterone. Some that I knew, some I was kind of surprised to know that they were linked. But when you think about the patients or the people that you see at Optimalbio, the question I have for you is how often should they be checking for these levels? Do you recommend like, hey,
Okay,
yeah, what's the
I have an
frequency that
algorithm,
they
Harsh.
should, yeah.
Yeah, I have an algorithm. The thing is, our patient age right now, we have patients from 18 to 86 right now. But the
Mm,
protocol I use for women, a pellet lasts about 5 months in a woman, about 6 months in a man. So what I do is I check your pre-labs to see where you're at. Based upon your size, your symptoms, your age, I have an algorithm that gets you a starting dose. It
mm,
peaks in 48 hours, but I want to say you metabolize it. I check it 1 month later to see where you're at. Then in women, I check it 3 months. I check men at 4 months. The goal is not to restart you. The goal is to keep that. My goal, my vision is to keep you in those ranges I talked about so that I keep you in those
uh-huh.
ranges during that time because a pellet is the most consistent steady state loss every day. So a man loses about 1.3 milligrams per day per pellet, about 0.7%, and a woman loses about 0.5 milligrams per day. So you can watch it. Now, when you work out and your heart beats faster, you actually get a rise. So it's mimic our gonads as possible. So that's the algorithm I use, and we have very good response with that. But it's very important. These are ranges, not limits. And
Mm,
we're all genetically when the messenger RNA reads the DNA, as you know, it has to have a period when to stop reading. And as you
yep.
know, the nucleotides is CAG. So when it sees CAG, it goes, oh, the androgen receptor is done being made. And some studies have shown the more CAGs you have, the less sensitive the androgen receptor is. So therefore, if a person feels, just say you feel great at 1150 and I feel great at 13, I'm not going to say that number is too high or too low. It's how you feel, your response, how you're burning your percentage of body fat, your words, your acuity. These things all come together. That's why we really look at everybody individualized. It's not one size fits all. It is crucially important. This hormone is in everybody's body, but how it responds is crucially important. Are you more active, less active? All these things add up.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what I was going with. My next question I had for you is, so you said that you have this algorithm and you sort of monitor the frequency to check how much of it is used over a span of, X number of months.
Three to
And
four
let's
months, yes, sir.
3 to 4 months, yeah. So for somebody, for a male that wants to maximize the entirety of that 4 month span, what are some of the day-to-day habits they need to incorporate to not have to come back to you sooner for the
Yeah,
results
it's
of
these are things that are just healthy things. It sounds crazy, but again, Peter Attia talked about this in his book, Live, but the five basic things. Well, he says five things you do, four things I added one to it. Sleep. Sleep
Mm,
is crucial. Circadian rhythm is real. Going to bed, getting 70 hours of sleep, going to bed without the blue light wave, without the electronics around you, the EMFs, all that's important. Exercise. Walking and lifting heavy things a few times a week. That's
mm,
crucially important. And eating. I'm a huge believer in an intermittent fasting type diet. I'm a big carnivore, keto-ish, and proper fruits and vegetables, right? More about
yeah,
not purely carnivore, but Jason Fung's book, Obesity Code, talks about that idea of having like a 6 to 8 hour window. And I found that to be very beneficial. I think the 3 meals a day and 3 snacks a day that's done by the food pyramid, that's the fad. We never ate that way for 6,000 years. And eating
yeah,
animal fat, eggs, fat, and protein are crucially important. And eating within a time, because it's a balance between AMPK and mTOR, and you want your body to be in this balance. And I personally eat about 6 hours a day, and have a fasting about 16, 18 hour window has been best for my energy levels. And the fourth thing I talk about is removing stress. The adrenals are very adaptable, but when they get out of stress is when we get problems storing belly fat, have our immune system weak. And the fifth thing is to make all those things work properly, restore your hormones to the basic level. So, but the bottom line is sleep is number one more than anything else. In fact, they've showed studies of sleep and fasting have increased in men testosterone without pellets 1,300% by itself. So that's those two crucially important things. So I try people to understand, let's do these healthy lifestyles. The problem is, since when we're in the womb, our gonads are set at a level because of the damage of the xenoestrogens. There's only so much potential. So therefore, you do the beneficial stuff is great, but it goes back to the car. You can't drive the car without optimal fuel, and that's why I keep the testosterone in men in those ranges.
yeah. And a lot of it is also becoming more and more hard. Like the things that you mentioned, the 5 points, a lot of them are fundamentally easy. They don't require any extra skill, like sleeping 7 hours, 8 hours a day, or doing 30 minutes of walk. You don't need any fancy equipment or any skill to do that. But then there's also, on the flip side, certain things like reducing blue light, right? If I think 30 years ago, there weren't that many devices to spend time on blue light, or scroll, or watch Netflix. But today, this generation has a different lifestyle. There is more devices, more screens all around you. So uh
Yeah, the screens. I mean,
yeah,
harsh. Let's think about that. When we go to close our eyes, we go to sleep, and it gets dark.
yeah,
That decrease of blue light puts on melatonin, which puts us to sleep. When we wake up with the dawn's light coming up, the early light of the sun in the morning, that's a
hmm,
blue light. It wakes us up. So our body's that circadian rhythm, right? Now we're artificially having fluorescent lights, artificially having the screen in front of our face. That's why having yellow screen have a yellow screen to block the blue light is important. But you're right. Just think about 5G. That's a 1 millimeter wave. What is that doing to our body? We're basically a battery, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at the way the mitochondria works to build this proton gradient, what is that doing to our body? And the response to all this conflict in our body is inflammation. Inflammation, is, as you know, is an extra electron. So what can we do not to have this free radicals formation? And when you look at it, that's why fat, not omega-6, but omega-3s and omega-9s are very protective. Vitamin C, vitamin D, glutathione. These things used to be in our food supply, but you think about it, 90% of our food in America today was not here 100 years ago. And 90% of the disease we have today, we're not here to get together. And I'm not saying they're out there to hurt us. We're not thinking sometimes that the ramifications, and you don't see the ramifications until decades later. Like in my fields in OB, they gave DES and thalidomide to help women with miscarriages. What it caused was more miscarriage and babies with limb defects, but their intention was good. That's why it's important to me that the structures we give our body recognizes it. Bioidentical is not a marketing tool. It's clarifying that our body knows what this is. And that's important. Like in anabolic steroids, there's 3 categories of testosterone. There's the ester, cyprinate, propionate, the most common people hear about. There's 19-nortestosterone, where they change the molecule, and it's called nordanolone. And then there's the other one called 17-alkylation, D-bol. You take it orally. They're all work. They have different androgenic and different anabolic properties, but they're up to 1,000 times stronger than natural testosterone. That's when the problem happens. There's a great book out of Belgium called Neurodegenerative Diseases and Sex Hormones, showing these anabolics that are synthetic. They can increase neuronal apoptosis and increase Alzheimer's over time. The bioidentical one actually makes more brain, does not kill it off. So it's a beneficial. They're both considered steroid or anabolic steroids, but one is beneficial long-term with no side effects. One is beneficial short-term, but has these side effects. My goal at Optimalbio is to give things where there's no long-term side effects that are detrimental.
Yeah. And the ones that you mentioned, the anabolic ones, those are the ones that a lot of, like, weightlifters or some
Right,
athletes take, and they end up, when they have a test and it's discovered, they're going for the short term performance or
right.
gain. Yeah. Okay.
But the one that's the thing that bothers me, because natural testosterone
Mm.
is a human form. Here's the thing. Say the range of natural testosterone, again, it's 264 to 916. That's LabCorp's data. That's from July 1st of 2017. On
Yeah.
June 30th, 2017, the range for Olympic athletes was 364 to 1197. They changed it the very next day. So to me, again, it goes back to a sicker population they're testing. That's
Yeah.
what's important. And it's a range, not a limit. And that's completely separate from the synthetic arm. Those are non-human hormones. And the problem with those is they still need aromatase to convert them to eliminate your body. So it's the fluctuation of the estrogens in the body, not the testosterone. There's 3 pathways to eliminate estrogen. The 2 pathways, 16 and 4. 16 and 4 are bad, and 2 is good. An estradiol has 2 receptors, an alpha and a beta. Alpha causes potential growth, potential cancer. Beta is protective. So all those things on the synthetic side increase more of the estradiol alpha mode, which is not beneficial. But natural testosterone, more to the beta, is much more superior. That's what our body makes. That's what our body uses. That's why it's important. I think it's the xenoestrogens lowering that stuff. I mean, Harsh, here's what's really interesting. In women, infertility is increasing, fibroids, endometriosis, I think has to do with those xenoestrogens. In males, since 1972 in North America, we're losing 1% per sperm per year. And since 2002, 2% per year. That's like a lot, but since 1972, we are down over 50% my generation. In fact, men today under the age of 35, 4 to 10% of them are azoospermia today. And they have no sperm; they're infertile. Hebrew University, this study said they believe by 2050, men in Western Europe and North America will be infertile by 2050. The ramifications of society are astronomical, and we have to again We had to look at the cause so we could stop the root cause so we could get back to our fertility rates, fundability rates.
Yes. And I know we're coming up on time, and I've loved this discussion, everything you've said so far. For anybody, that's coming to your one of your facilities for the BHRT therapy, what is like the age group that you most frequently see, or is when how often should men consider going and doing some
Yeah, for men,
detection
yeah,
of.
half our patients are men, half are women.
Yeah.
Again, it's symptom driven, tired, brain fog, anxiety, mood swings, period. That we're
Hmm.
never anybody's first doctor. We're always their third or fourth or fifth doctor, right?
I
And we
see.
have a
Okay.
98% retention rate. 98% retention rate because symptoms go away, they come back.
Hmm.
At Optimalbio, we listen to your story. Most of it is listening to your story. It's not a cookie cutter. Then we
Yep.
got our labs, obviously, come back and talk again. We give a copy of our books to educate that. And then the process is we listen to your story, we get you an optimal range, and we fine tune that. So,
Hmm.
but I can't stress enough, our ranges, our average age range, median patients, 37 to 42.
Yep.
So I think the generation under me are getting more awake to find holistic care earlier before waiting before they become older. Um, because if the symptoms are there, they'd rather go on bioidentical hormones than they would, SSRIs. So I think what's crucially important is to educate, ask your doctor these questions, but a band-aid is not the answer for a bleeding artery. It's to actually ligate the artery, right? Go to the root cause. And Optimalbio, that's our specialty.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I know you started Optimalbio in 2012. You have an office in Raleigh, North Carolina. You have 8 other
We
offices.
have 4 in North Carolina, 1 in Virginia, 2 in South Carolina, and 1 in Austin, Texas. They're opening up Florida in about 2 months.
Okay, okay, great.
And they're not
So,
franchises. They're all owned by me. All my PAs or nurse practitioners are trained by us. I rotate amongst them all. We're
yep,
very systematic in our way we do it in our offices so that the patient comes first.
great, great. Yeah, that's I was trying to figure out like what's next. Like, are you opening more locations? So you said Florida is
We'll
one,
probably
and
open about 3 or 4 a year. Our goal is not to open a bazillion. Our goal
yeah,
is to offer when we're ready to move, go into areas, and again, we don't want to go where you go to one that's not equal to all of them. They got to be superior in every
yeah,
one. So about 3 a year, and then our biggest thing, we're on. We do a lot of Zooms, a lot of YouTubes, a lot of things like that for patient education. But we'll be going methodically across the southeast and maybe across the nation.
yeah. That's great. Do you have any I know this is a very tough question, but since 2012, if you just take a moment and think of all the patients you've seen, or somebody from your team has seen, is there a success story without sharing the name of the patient that you are like, hey, this is what the person came to us before and after they left, as is there any
Yeah,
uh
I'm very fortunate. I work a lot with our military, and I
mm,
have a lot of men who I have this one in my book, Restore. He's he is a SEAL Team 6 member.
mm,
So cream of the crop. It's called a breacher. His name is Barrett Jackson. He tells us Johnson. He tells his whole story in our book. And a breacher is the one that goes through the wall first. A lot of explosions. He
yeah,
talks about his experience at Walter Reed. All this that they've done. They've done great work. But he talks about how he's just completely depressed on all these multiple
mm,
medications. His wife found me. I spoke at a VFW conference, and he tells a story about now he's off all of his medications. He's back at his master's in cyber technology. So we have those kind of stories every day. We have women that come in. I've been on antidepressants for 30, 40 years, and in 4 months they're off of them. They feel like their lives. There's one lovely lady. She's about my age, and she's. Let me put it this way, Greg. I feel like I've been underwater for 50 years, and I'm finally out of the water. So
wow,
it's again, we're no subscription. There's nobody forced you to come to us. And we've done about probably 50, 60,000 patients in the last 13 years with a 98% retention rate.
that's phenomenal. Yep.
So I think the proof's in the pudding. And it's like, okay, you have a diabetic, a type 1 diabetic. That means they don't make insulin. Yes, you
Mm.
tell them to eat better. Yes, you tell them to work out. Yes, you do all those things, but they can't make insulin. So you give them insulin so they can accomplish those goals. It's like this: if you don't
Mm.
have the hormones, whatever you do, you're not going to get the efficient results. So the efficient results is, again, how you feel. It's not always muscle, but relationships come back.
Yep.
A husband and wife are back together, more intimate again. They're communicating again, not just sexually, but they're actually talking. All these things, these stories we hear every single day across our offices, because this is a fuel that these Ferraris need to run.
Mm. Yeah, it's definitely nothing to be neglected about. Basically, after from what I'm hearing from this episode is just the importance and the role of hormones, and a lot of the signals that we see in our life, like you mentioned, the different ones like anxiety, brain fog, all of them. Uh, Trying to get to
Those are
that
just
root
the
cause
parts.
instead of
We since we were in the womb, we need these hormones, right? We need them
yeah,
since the womb. So to live life, especially a woman, men lose gradually, not because of our age. We lose gradually because longer we live, the more exposed to the xenoestrogens, right? Women, boom,
mm,
stop. Women are 3 times higher for dementia. 75% of all Alzheimer's are women. You put them on these, the studies have shown dramatic improvements uh, to have brain development. Yeah, there's MRIs, hormones, no hormones. It's the data is plethora of that. So why wait to the
yep.
disease process? Let's avoid those disease processes.
Mm. Yeah, I know a few people in my family who are at that stage, obviously. And yeah, so I know what you're saying, and I've heard the same thing from my family members and medical providers. So uh where can thank you so much. We will definitely link the book in the show notes of the episode so that people can check it out. We'll put the link in Amazon if you want to go ahead. And again, this is not a affiliate or any link of that sort. Purely, just go check it out. But where can people learn more about you? Do you want to share your social media,
Yeah,
your website?
it's yeah, optimalbio.com.
Yep.
And that's, you go there. That's all of our offices across all 5 states. That's my first book, Hormone Handbook, is on there for free. Um, we have our YouTube channel, our podcast are on Apple, our TikTok, Instagram, everything is there. Optimalbio.com. We just want as much information. Again, as we talked before at the very beginning, knowledge is power. And we want people to be educated to make informed decisions to improve the quality and the quantity of their life.
Yeah, that sounds great. And thank you, Dr. Greg, for coming on to the show. Special episode with the National Men's Health Awareness Month. So thank you for your time and wish you tons of success to you and all your patients at Optimal Bio. Yep, thank you.